to go. Today's video is setting up assemblies. We have a ridge cap, hip ridge cap here, standard ridge cap here on the roof, and maybe also some end wall and sidewall flashing that we want to add a closure material to and some screws. So when we look at our details tab and go into roof trim, providing we have all our trim set up, we have ridge cap, all the standard trims, and then we may have packages set up in the back that are bringing in screws. So at this point, we'll just assume you don't have anything set up and you want to set up an assembly, trim assembly for your ridge cap, maybe the hip cap also, and then the shed sidewall flashing. So we'll jump into the setup wizard and see how that works to set those up. So we'll go into trim assemblies for the first part. And I had preset a few of these up. So what we're going to do is open one of these and look at an example, and then we're going to add our own in for the end wall flash. So this ridge cap, if I open this one up and look at it, so I chose to set up a version of ridge cap with a non-vented closure. And I have a primary material here that I selected, my 14-inch ridge cap. It can be used in all these places. So one thing that you want to make sure of with a non-vented closure, normally if it's a hip ridge, it's going at an angle or a 45 degree, so the closure doesn't fit very well. So you probably want to remove that usage and remove any usages where you wouldn't use a ridge cap with that closure. So just something to think about. And then getting into the items that are added here. So we have the outside closure. We have 3 feet of coverage, and it's going on both sides of the ridge cap. Inside of that one, and we also have our screws. So we're using a wood binder screw, 9 inches on center. It's on both sides of the ridge cap. So out of that. So looking at how we set these all up, one thing that we can use for an example would be our end wall flashing. So some people want to use like a foam row material. Common name for it is M-Seal. First, we would have to make sure that the hardware item is set up. So we would go into our hardware and we want to make sure that hardware item's in here. So if we don't have it, we could add the item, just call it foam row. Selling unit is per row. Quantity is 1. We could put our cost in, $20. $5. In a weight if we wanted, 1 pound. And we save this. This item is in our hardware. Now we're ready to set up this trim assembly. So when we go into trim assemblies, when you click this plus sign, it opens up some empty fields here, and you just choose the primary material. In this case, we were talking about our end wall flash, so we can search for end wall. Pick that, and now we can give this a unique name, what this assembly would be called. So I want to just spell out, say, end wall flashing with foam closure. And you could also put in details about the length of the screw, maybe that you're going to use, maybe 2-inch screws. I'm not going to for this one. You want to keep your descriptions fairly short so that you can read them fully, so you have to abbreviate a bit. So where all this end wall can be used with the closure, in this case, I'm only going to allow it to be used for my shed flashing. So that's on a shed roof where it meets into a wall. So it's a flashing that way. So when I click on this add new, it defaults to closure type first. So I pick closure as the type. It goes into accessories, and I find the material. And we may have to switch our category here and find the hardware since it's in hardware. And again, you may have different names for it. If we want to find the foam row that I just added, I could search for foam. We could find the row, and again, there's all different types of names for it. Another example is this. I have a 13-foot expanded foam row here that we could use in an example. And you have to spell out how many feet of coverage that row has. So in this case, it's really easy. You can see it in the name. So I choose enter 13 feet of coverage. And by checking this box, this doubles it. So you can do both sides of that ridge cap. So I save that. And you could also do different conditions in this menu. So if you want to add special conditions, if you could even do things like if the roof material is a certain product that uses a certain type of foam roll. That would be one example. So you can write all kinds of if statements here. In this video, we're not going to get into that. So I'll cancel this. We have a row expanded foam. We want to add our fastener. So the next time I open it, it defaults to fastener. Go into my fasteners, find the screws that I want, and I may use a ZXL screw here. So I'll use a 2.5-inch ZXL. Apply that, and if this is a 9-inch on center rib, we have inches on center as a setting. So you can easily just put 9 inches on center. And in this case, I want to put a screw down on the rib, and that's going to be my 2.5-inch screw going through the roof. Now, I may also choose to put one up on the sidewall, through the sidewall metal where this flashing goes behind. So if you want to use this screw, you could just check both sides and you get 2 rows. You may choose to add another link screw for the sidewall. That's optional. So if we'd want to do that, we could click Add New. We could go back, add another fastener, and we could choose a shorter screw maybe for the sidewall. So if I search the ZXL, 1.5 inches, and I do the same thing, inches on center, 9 inches on center, and I save that. So now I'm getting 2 rows of screws of different lengths, one for the roof part of it and one on the sidewall of this flashing. So I've got my name here, and I've got everything I need for this assembly. I save it. Go ahead and save this. I'll save this in the setup wizard. Now I also had these set up ahead of time so that we can look at those of how we can set those when we get back into the job. We'll go ahead and save this. Click Save again. So now when we go back into the job, when we go into our roof trims in the Details tab, as you can see, I had set up this ridge cap beforehand, but the end wall flashing was not set up. So when we scroll down, automatically by creating this assembly item in your framing rules, it automatically gets replaced by the first assembly that you create. So now it automatically is using this end wall flashing with foam closure. If you want to make sure that's working right, we can go to the Job Review tab. I'm in Accessories here. We can see we're getting our foam, we're getting the rows, and we're also getting the 2 different lengths of screws. So we're getting 40 screws. And that seems about right for the length of end wall that I had. So we go into the trim, make sure we have the end wall flashing also coming in, so we see it in here. So thanks for watching today. I hope you enjoyed the video. This may help somebody get past setting up the assemblies. We feel the assemblies will really help accuracy of trims, because now you can choose a trim line and set it up exactly the way you want, instead of having to have a package set up that is, maybe being applied to the whole building. So that's how trim assemblies or sheeting assemblies can help your takeoffs.